Hi, this is Michael Fisher for SavingAndInvesting.com, and in this video I want to speak briefly about the time value of money. The time value of money is a concept that's particularly relevant to the idea and the concept of compounding, and also to a concept that relates to valuation of securities or investments, where we employ something called discounting. Simply said, the concept of time value of money relates to a certain amount of money being worth a certain amount of money in the future, a future value, knowing the interest rate that is appropriate for that period of time. So for example, $100 today, the present value of $100, with an interest rate of 5% would be equivalent to $105 in 1 year. If the interest rate was 5% for 1 year, it would be 100 times 1 plus 5% in brackets, which is 1.05, equals 105. So in other words, we would theoretically be indifferent between having $100 today and $105 in 1 year if the prevailing interest rate for that 1 year period were 5%. Now, that obviously is very linked to the concept of compounding, where we're taking sums of money, or a sum of money, and figuring out what that sum of money could grow to over time with a certain interest rate. So $100 at 5% clearly becomes 105 after a year. If we add another 100 to it through savings, it becomes 205. And after another year, then the 205 would become 205 times 1.05. And so on and so on and so on. And the sums would grow by compounding, and the time value of money is what we use to express those present values in terms of a future value, knowing the interest rate. Now what we can do, if we know that the future value of 105, for example, in the first example, is equivalent to a future value of 105 is equivalent to having $100 today with the prevailing interest rate for the 1 year period of 5%, then we could say that getting $105 in 1 year is equivalent to getting $100 today. And when we think about securities like bonds, or even in some cases we could use it to think about dividend-paying stocks, we could say that a bond, which is really a series of cash flows, typically on a semi-annual basis, i.e. every 6 months, and then a principal repayment at the end, we could take those cash flows and bring them back to a value today by dividing by 1 plus the interest rate for each year that we're bringing the cash flow back, if we're using annual interest rates. And that concept is referred to as discounting, and it's really, in a way, a way of bringing future cash flows back to today by dividing by 1 plus the interest rate, instead of bringing a present value into seeing what it's worth in the future by multiplying by 1 plus the interest rate. So in other words, the time value of money is a concept used to link present values and future values, knowing an interest rate, which can be done either to go from present values to future values and figuring out what the value of something would be in the future, or taking future cash flow streams and bringing them back to today or to another point in time, knowing what a prevailing interest rate would be, or a discount factor, as it's often referred to. And there's more on this in the valuation section on discounting.